Hey, what's up? Let's talk book. Good day everyone, my name is Natasha and today I'd like to discuss a literary masterpiece that I stumbled upon this week. It's beautiful, it's great, it's absolutely amazing. So, the book that I will be talking about is Witchmark. This isn't the book that I'll be discussing. Unfortunately, I don't have the physical copy of Witchmark. Curse you, COVID-19 pandemic! This just happened to be the nearest book lying around, so let's not waste any time and let us begin our lovely discussion about Witchmark. Witchmark, the first novel in the Kingston Cycle series, is written by C.L. Polk and was published in 2018. It's a prize-winning novel, let me tell you. It won the World Fantasy Award in 2019 in the Best Novel category, and it was also nominated for a few other awards too. Witchmark is categorized as gas lamp fantasy. If you're not familiar with this particular subgenre of fantasy, gas lamp is typically fantasy which is set in the 19th or very early 20th century era in the real world, more specifically during the Victorian or Edwardian era. In the case of Witchmark, it leans more towards Edwardian. Most gas lamp fantasy takes place in England, but Witchmark's setting is mainly in a fictional country named England. Pretty similar, right? Most of the location names and the city layout itself takes much inspiration from England, such as the city Kingston, Bywell, and the various street names that pop up in the book. To sum up the concept, Gaslamp fantasy is similar to steampunk, but instead of focusing on the developments of technology, in this case steam-powered machines, Gaslamp fantasy utilizes supernatural elements as a magical energy source to power their tech. Witchmark itself uses aether, a mysterious energy that powers most of their modern machinery. This novel is also classified as paranormal fiction as the plot deals a lot with necromancy and souls of the dead. Why did I choose to read this book? What drew me to Witchmark? Well, it's pretty simple. I've always had a great interest in the fantasy genre. Most of the novels I own are from the fantasy genre. But this is the first time that I've heard of the gas lamp subgenre and it really piqued my interest. I wanted to know what makes it different from the usual fantasy books that I read, which is either modern or dystopian fantasy. And most of them are also based off of Greek or Roman mythology, and sometimes I dabble in some Norse mythology if I feel adventurous. Another selling point of Witchmark that made me want to read it is that there's not a lot of fantasy books where the protagonist is a doctor, or if we want to get specific, a psychiatrist who possesses the unique ability to be able to see his patients' illnesses and heal them immediately. In most stories, doctors and scientists are usually portrayed as the skeptics or cynics that don't believe in the existence of magic. But this book was able to combine both medical science and magic cohesively, which I think is a big plus point. The next point I'd like to talk about is the conflict in Witchmark that can be related to recent problems in our time. To explain this, I would like to use the plot of the novel to discuss what the main conflicts are and how they represent the issues of modern times. There's the main plot, and I chose one subplot from the many subplots that are out there. Now, let's start with the main plot. The story of Witchmark follows the journey of Dr. Miles Singer, who was made to promise that he would investigate the murder of Nick Elliot, a man who was dying when he arrived in the hospital that Miles works in, and to discover the truth behind the ongoing war between Aelin and Lanier, a neighboring country. Tristan Hunter offers to assist Miles because Tristan believes that Nick Elliot's murder is related to his own investigation, where he is sent by the Grand Duchess to uncover why the dead souls of Aelanders are vanishing without a trace. Miles himself is interested in the truth behind the war because he believes that by unearthing the secret, he would be able to figure out the abnormal behavior pattern exhibited by his patients. Miles is a psychiatrist in the Beauregard Veterans, which is a hospital that mainly operates to treat veterans and soldiers that recently came home from the war. As he was treating them, he realized that the war had a profound effect on the soldier's state of mind. Witchmark emphasizes how traumatic experiences can heavily alter a person's mental state, with the soldiers suffering from nightmares and showing symptoms where they feel dissociated from themselves and have recurring nightmares, as well as the frightening desire to murder everything in sight from the other self that they keep describing. Unfortunately, in the world of Witchmark, most Islanders, even other doctors, do not believe that these mental scars are real, and they attribute it to simple fatigue or that the soldiers are just lunatics that deserve to be put in asylums. As far as they're concerned, the mental scar of these soldiers is just as mythical as magic to citizens of Aelan. I think this particular take on mental health corresponds with an ever-present problem in today's society where mental health is still not considered a serious issue. People are easy to dismiss others who are diagnosed with mental disorders as either insane or lacking in faith, and make fun of or insult people for not being strong enough. Going to see psychiatrists or getting therapy is viewed as an act of disgrace, and when people break down mentally, they are shamed and criticized for their weakness instead of getting the support they need to get better and to recover. When someone says that they have depression or anxiety, some of the more common mental disorders, people are quick to dismiss it as just being sad or worrying too much. There's also a minor subplot that caught my attention. It doesn't contribute much to the story, but I think it has an impact on Miles' character development. During the course of Witchmark's story, Miles is seen to have more than just a physical attraction to Tristan. Interestingly enough, in Witchmark, the practice of homosexuality is not frowned upon despite the estimated time period that the world is set in. It's common for men to have male lovers, but once they reach a certain age, they are still expected to get married to women. Homosexuality is considered a phase that men go through in their lives and get tired of eventually. Although there has been several mentions of some characters being gay, including Miles and Tristan, the book doesn't shed light on the position of lesbians in the story. It is also implied that although being in a homosexual relationship is normal, same-sex marriage is still not possible in Aelan when Tristan proposed to Miles at the end of the book. I think this situation is similar to modern society, where they have begun to accept the LGBTQ+ community and normalizing the act instead of criminalizing them. But many people still think that being gay is a choice, and that they would eventually go back to their senses and return to what society deems as normal, which is being heterosexual. Many parts of the world have yet to legalize same-sex marriage as well, mostly due to contrasting ideologies and the reluctance to accept concepts outside of the norm. And that is it for our discussion today. I seriously think that Witchmark is a very great book with an amazing plotline, very well developed characters, sensational world building, and overall it's just very amazing, okay? I highly recommend this novel if you are interested in exploring a rare subgenre of fantasy or if you just like dealing with the occult and magic. Well, that is all for me. Thank you so much for watching this video and I will see you next time. Bye bye!